Chuck Stewart is coming tonight, and I thought it was cool because he wants to do social media. And I don't know what direction he's going to take.
Yeah. Interesting.
I don't know if he's going to go from, I pulled up, Wes McAdams has that. You ever see it on Facebook, Radically Christian?
Yeah.
He's got a couple of them, but one of them is some Bible verses to consider when using social media. So it's like what you post as far as words or pics or all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if Chuck's going to come at it from that angle or from people defining themselves by social media standards, that sort of stuff.
Right.
I mean, you're kind of tired of it.
It's either a negative angle or a how can we use this type angle.
Yeah.
Typically the two angles used.
Hopefully it's a balance, because I mean, there's good that comes from it. I mean, we're using it for this stuff. But me and you're kind of tired of it.
Mm-hmm. I'm tired of it.
Yeah. What gets on your nerves about the social media?
How it's made everybody super selfish.
Oh, okay. In terms of, I mean, there's lots of ways.
Their entire life. I mean, driving down the road now,
right?
You can just tell that it's everything about them is inward.
Yeah.
Get out of my way. I'm in a hurry, and you're in the way.
Yeah.
I'm the only person on the planet. Everybody else is just in the way.
A lot of wisdom to that.
That really bothers me about it.
Seen Chuck in a while?
No.
You seen his facial hair?
Well, I've seen if he's still the good to,
if he still has, he's got the coolest facial hair in preacherdom or whatever the case is. So it'll be cool. Yeah. He won't be like Chris at all. He'll be low key.
Yeah. He is real kind of stoic almost.
Yeah. But he's got that dry wit too. Mm-hmm. So he'll be preaching and make a joke, and people will be like, and I'll be dying laughing because he's so deadpan about it. All right, cool.
Awesome.
That's tonight.
Cool.
And what brought this on? That's everybody's
COVID.
Talking point, right?
COVID. So when they started, everything started going. This is like when we didn't quite know everything, and so everyone's shutting their doors, And if you went anywhere, we wear a mask.
Right.
I'm like, you know what? I've never grew this out. Like, the past Thanksgiving, I started growing it out, but I didn't want to go and kiss my grandma. So I was going back home. For Thanksgiving, and I didn't want. And my grandma can't see very well, and I didn't want to I didn't want her. I didn't want it to trouble her that I had a mustache. It probably wouldn't have, but so I shaved it all off, and I was like, I'll grow it again eventually. And then COVID came. I was like, well, no one's gonna see me anyways. I want to have a mask on everywhere. I'll just grow it out and see what happens. I never grown it out like this.
Yeah.
And so it just finally, it just started going. I'm like, oh wow, okay, this is.
It's a lot of upkeep, I bet, isn't it?
Yeah, it's funny. The one reason why I grew it out was I didn't want to shave anymore. I'll just grow this out. All I have to do is just shave this part and be easy. I just use an electric razor.
Right.
But yeah, man. If I gotta trim it.
Yeah.
And keep it out of my mouth. I can't.
I know.
And it's already. Yeah. And I get the mustache wax. But Megan loves it.
That's cool.
Supposedly, she tells me that.
Well, yeah.
Because I've thought about shaving it off. I have dreams about shaving it off. Seriously.
That's crazy. Yeah, I was thinking, do you go to get a barber to do it, or you could?
No, man, I do it myself. Yeah.
That's cool.
Well, I've heard. So I did a lot of beard research.
Yeah.
And I've heard horror stories about barbers just totally messing guys' stuff, beards up. So. Yeah, so
funny,
I'll just learn how to do it myself.
He'll be hanging around one day, and they'll be looking for extras in a Western, and be like, him.
Yeah.
Give him my hat.
When I get the wax in here, buddy, this thing can go. I can get it going.
Do you curl it up though? Put the handle.
We had a little Christmas party.
Yeah.
And I played Scrooge. And I twirled that thing almost straight out. Yeah, it was cool.
What's funny is I never thought about it being mask shaped.
Tell them, right, this is my mask. Don't tell me to put a mask on.
That's right. That hopefully most of that stuff's done. All right, so let's get into this. It's in fact, we'll start with a prayer here in just a second, but it's Chuck Stewart from Mountain City. Thanks again for drive. How long does it take you to drive down here?
45 minutes. It's not that bad.
Not too bad.
When you live in Mountain City, you learn that 45 minutes is like 10 minutes. It becomes that.
Especially if you got to go grocery shopping. Y'all don't have a grocery store, do you?
Well, yeah, we have Food Line.
Oh, that's right. You do.
Yeah. So, and there's a couple other ones there, but you want to go to Walmart, it's a good 30 minutes.
Oh yeah.
Or Damascus, like 25, 30.
See, I lived in Damascus when there was no food city. It was Abingdon for anything.
Yeah,
So it was 15, 20 minutes down the
yeah.
road, and that was just normal. We moved out of, well, we lived in a smaller town in Texas, but I mean, we started out in Arlington near Dallas, Texas.
Oh, wow.
Ended up in Damascus, Virginia.
Yeah. It's a shift.
Yeah, a little bit. I remember driving around the roads up there around Shady, feeling like we were going to drive off the edge, wondering why there weren't any guardrails.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And they
Like,
were
they
like,
could really use one right there.
yeah. And they'll be like, oh, the trees will catch you. That's not what I'm
Oh,
looking
man.
for. Anyway, so thanks for being here. We're going to talk
Yes.
a little bit about social media and, again, more of an organic conversation. You've got some things that you brought. I have some as well. So let's start with prayer. We thank you, God, that we have this opportunity to be able to encourage each other, to teach, to make these videos. Father, we pray that it would be a glory to you, first of all, that you would be pleased with what we're doing here, that we will be able to open up your word and share it with other people, that it may help them. And so we pray over those who come into contact with this media, that it will bless them in some way. And once again, Father, it's all about you, and we hope that you're glorified through this, and we pray that you'll lead us and guide us in those ways. Thank you so much for Jesus, who gave his life so that we can have the relationship we do with you. And we pray that you'll forgive us of our sins. Please strengthen us, especially in our weakest places, and continue to bless us, Father. We thank you. It's in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, my man. So kick it off. And you said social media. What's the first thing that pops in your mind?
Danger. So I've preached on this before, and I've talked to people about it. So I don't have a Facebook. I used to have a Facebook when it came out. I actually had a MySpace page. You remember MySpace?
I do.
Yeah, Clayton might remember MySpace as well. So I had one of those, and it was cool, and that was my introduction to social media. Facebook came out, you get one of those. I tell you what turned me off. I don't have one now. I've never had a Twitter, never had Instagram, or I don't even know really what. I'm not even sure. I'm sure I could figure it out, but I don't know. I don't know anything about Instagram. I don't know anything about Snapchat. I don't.
Oh yeah.
But I'll tell you what turned me off of it.
Mhm.
So it was probably about 2008, and that was roughly the time when we started going to church and getting back and being faithful again,
Mhm.
and growing and maturing and stuff. And like I was telling you earlier, a lot of the young people there at the congregation I was at was really, really big influence on us. Well, then,
How old are you in 2008? You're married at that time, right?
yeah, married at that time.
Okay.
I don't know. Let's see how many years ago that I gotta count backwards. Okay, no. So I was born in 78.
Okay. All right.
So 30.
30.
Well, Twitter had come out,
Mhm.
I think 06. And so I think by like 2007, 2008, Twitter started like really ramping up in popularity.
Do you remember how dumb that sounded when it first came out?
Yeah, Twitter.
Tweeting.
Yeah.
Like, tweeting. What kind of mess is this? Anyway, go ahead.
Then so some Christians were, hopping on board, whatnot. And I got news that somebody was very angry that the preacher, like, I guess wanted to follow them. And he's a member of the church. So the member of the church got very angry that the preacher wanted to follow them on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
And it turned out to be that they didn't want to have to watch their online what they did because the preacher would see, that kind of thing.
Gotcha.
And I thought it was really weird. And to say nothing bad about that particular person or nothing, because love them and they're really good people, but it just kind of opened my eyes to how Christians were viewing certain things outside of the church building, so to speak, and outside of the Christian fellowship.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to get away from the world and get into the Christian fellowship.
You'd been immersed in the world for a little while, right?
Mm-hmm. And then now I find Christians wanting to get away from Christian fellowship and kind of delve into the world. I just thought it was very strange. I didn't like it. it was pretty upsetting to me actually. And so I just said, you know what? I'm not doing this anymore. And I just deleted Facebook and haven't been on since. And I don't know what all happened with that, but I don't really care. But so yeah, I haven't really liked it. And the things that I have seen, so my wife has a Facebook, and so I guess I get a little, I know what's going on Facebook. You know, our congregation has a Facebook page. I'm not totally against social media. You know, I'm not against like having a podcast on YouTube or whatnot.
I hope not.
But yeah, I'm coming on social media to bash social media.
That's right. Not at all. Yeah, I didn't think it'd be bashing.
It's just that I don't think, and really, I think Christians need to kind of just be a little more aware, maybe, and open their eyes a little bit to it about the potential harm that the church is facing because of an abuse or a misunderstanding of what social media is.
And it's even in slight, like a lot of people think, well, somebody's posting pictures where they're, you know, they're inappropriate pictures or something where they're not dressed well or that sort of thing. Or if it's somebody just outright cussing and using foul language. And so those are the extremes. But some of the ones that people don't think about are the gossip and the backbiting and the ugliness. I've seen people try to defend the Bible and defend God and be so mean and cold, calloused in their comments. You're like, please don't represent us.
Yeah. I don't think it's far-fetched to say that our social media Christians, New Testament Christians, the church's presence online has hurt us more than it has helped us.
In many cases, you're right.
And there's a lot of good stuff going on.
Sure, there is. None of this conversation negates the good things that come from it.
But man, there is a lot of bad, and you wonder, are we going to get to a point where it gets so bad that we're going to have to be preaching? We have to get off of this.
Maybe.
Hope not. I don't know. I don't want to come to that because I think I was saying there's a lot of good being done and there's a lot of good to do,
but it's conversations like this that will help people to at least be mindful of what they're posting, how they're commenting, their tone, all that. And one of the things I've seen from social media is, and maybe it's a human condition, but it's at least highlighted by social media, that we feel like we have to answer everybody on everything. Sometimes people are looking for a fight. I have unfollowed. That's the thing on Facebook. Not only are you friends with them, but you follow them. I've unfollowed certain people because I'll watch them post and I know what they're doing. They're baiting. They're looking to start it up. And then somebody comes in, well, you know what a GIF is, right? Where it's the same. Yeah. So somebody will post a GIF of, somebody eating popcorn because they're there for the show.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah. You know what I'm talking about. And that's over what? Arguing over this verse or this concept or doctrine or whatever.
And that's what it is a show.
Yes.
A show and nothing.
Yeah.
I would be so curious to know how many people have actually been converted through our interactions on social media platforms like Facebook. I know it has happened.
Yeah.
But I would just wonder how many of the millions of accounts that we have and the millions of billions maybe of update posts or status posts or comments that we have made. How many of those have actually led to really fruitful Bible studies that has resulted in conversion?
Yeah.
I mean, am I being pessimistic? But when I say that, probably not as many as it should be.
No. And it's funny because the same people that are railing on, well, if you bring somebody to quote unquote church with you, that's not going to help them. And how many people are converted by that? Well, probably a lot more. I don't know statistically, but I'd say it's very difficult. One of the things, and we're kind of just shooting it back and forth here because my mind's going in a lot of different directions, but one of the things is you lose eye contact, you lose tone.
Yeah.
You ever texted somebody, meant one thing, and they took it totally the wrong way, and you have to call them and go, that's not what I meant. That's not what I meant.
Yeah, even in emails, it's hard to
you lose
set
tone.
the tone. Yeah, and you got to realize that when you're talking to people, even over a simple email. Yeah, you got to watch because people can't always read your tone unless I know you very well. I know you're joking or I know you're being sarcastic or whatnot. But if you're trying to have a Bible study, I tried to have a discussion through email with someone once, a Calvinist, and it was pointless. It was pointless. I didn't convince him of anything. He didn't convince me of anything. And yeah, I couldn't tell whether the guy was like insulting me or he was actually trying to actually really convert me out of what he thought was a false teaching of mine, you know.
Right.
Yeah, and texts as well, and I would imagine Facebook posts get taken out of get I don't know what, taken out of context, or I didn't really mean. You know what I mean? I really didn't mean that. Yeah, and it blows up to this, I guess, big long thread
Mm-hmm.
that was never intended, and then over what, misunderstanding text. But yeah, communication is being lost, man.
Right.
I imagine. So let's say, however, whatever the percentage of young people are who was on social media, which I would imagine it's a lot. These are going to be our future. We could say future preachers, our future elders,
Mm-hmm.
future Bible class teachers, future Christian mothers and fathers and whatnot. What what I think what's happening is that we're learning to deal with our problems like this
Mm-hmm.
instead of like this. And so what happens when a young man becomes a man gets to be qualified to be an elder, he gets an eldership, and then a huge problem arises and he's never really dealt with face-to-face
Right.
problems.
Right.
But now he's got a face-to-face problem. I mean, don't you think that would affect how he's going to
Absolutely
shepherd the flock and handle that?
You're talking about the communication and what's lost there. I have known adults who have skipped face to face, have even skipped over the phone conversation to deal with a problem or disagreement because it's easier to text. It's easier to go on social media, email, whatever else. So there's that aspect of it as well. And I don't do that. I found that very early on, even with texting. My wife, Laura, and I had to come to an agreement. If there's any sort of hint of negativity or argumentation or disagreement, that no texting.
Oh, like between y'all two?
Yes, we call.
Yeah.
Because it's bad. It's not gone very well. And so we agreed a while back, no more texting, that stuff.
Yeah. Can you imagine that? Arguing with your wife over text?
Yeah, I've done it. And that's another thing. Like, I'm not going to sit here all holy roller and high and mighty. I have made posts. I have deleted comments. I don't know about posts, but I have reacted. I've taken the bait at times.
Well, you're saying, I mean, and like you were saying, there's something about, like, we almost can't help it.
It's difficult.
The temptation is very strong to respond.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I have to, and if I don't respond, then am I standing up for the truth? Am I, should I be? And I don't know how effective this stuff is. I don't know, like you said, I don't know how many minds have ever been changed. Can you imagine the other guy looking and they disagrees completely and he sees my comment and goes, I never thought of it like that. Most of the time it's, well, let me tell you about this. And at this point, kind of like your email discussion.
Yeah. And not to say that, and I'm not saying we should never post scriptures or never post a sermon.
Yeah.
Or anything like that, because sometimes, because you don't really know, that could be a seed that is planted. It could end up leading to something.
Good point.
And that might be the only way we reach somebody is through like a little quick post about something religious, and who knows where that might lead. But to make that our sole evangelistic effort, and not going like door to door or not inviting your neighbors to services or anything like that, you're losing that. It's just can't be our sole.
No, this is easier
thing to do. And I think maybe some get wrapped up into thinking that, well, as long as I'm posting scripture, I'm being faithful.
That's right.
Never
mind. You have a lot of friends that are probably, it's a whole lot more than that. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
You had some statistics that were interesting there. I was curious if you wanted to.
Oh yeah. So, I think just in 2020, the 3.9, I think it's 4 billion people now use social media. And so I think in 2020, I think it was 2019, but 2020 was probably the first year, and I think COVID helped that a lot, but was the first year where social media usage exceeded over half the world's population.
Great.
So there's quite a lot of people on social media right now. So half the world uses it. 2005, let's see. And, I was waiting for 2020 to roll around for the census. I thought, like, I'm waiting for a ton of these kind of stats and polls and stuff to come out, like kind of more updated. This goes back 2005. 5% of adults use social media. It's not a lot. And that was before Twitter and whatnot. 2017, 90% of users age 16 to 24, they use the internet, and it's strictly for social media.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they don't get on there to research.
Mm-hmm.
They don't get on there to, I don't know, gain some knowledge in some other way. They just get on there to, this is 90% of that age group. It's just for social media, man.
Yeah.
They don't use the internet for anything else. 97% of teenagers ages 13 through 17 have at least one social media account. 13 years old. My kids don't have, and I'm not saying,
I know.
I'm not casting judgment on what other families do.
Not at all.
But I do think 13 is too young. 13 is too young. 12 is too young. 8 years old is too young. People talk about themselves around 30 to 40% of the time in person. Like in a normal conversation, I would say I, me, that kind of thing.
Right.
30, 40% of that conversation. On social media, people talk about themselves 80% of the time.
I'm surprised it's that low. I would figure like 90, 95 or something like that.
80% of the time. And and one thing about that particular stat is that social media does promote self.
Yes.
It is really, it's all about you, man. It's all about me. Let me tell you what I did, and let me tell you what I think. Tell you my opinion, because I think very highly of it.
Yeah.
And let me tell you this, and let me tell you what I'm wearing. Let me tell you what I've ate.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, the foodie. Those are horrible. This is what we had for lunch today. I don't care.
But yeah, it's a promoter of self. And I was reading something earlier today where the likes that you get, or the shares that you would get, or the upvotes that you tick, or that you get, or whatever, like on Reddit. So we want to, all social media, Reddit social media, YouTube is social media,
Yes.
strictly mainly for the comment section.
Yes.
But yeah, so you get these upvote. I don't know if you're familiar with Reddit.
No, I've
But so you get these
barely even seen Reddit.
You get these upvotes, and it's a trash heap for the most part. There's some interesting things on Reddit.
TikTok.
Oh yeah, TikTok, another one. Yeah, that's the worst, probably, right? Like, I would imagine Instagram, TikTok, and Snapchat are the worst.
Pretty trashy stuff, yeah. Snapchat, yeah.
But so you build up karma, right, on Reddit, because you do a certain post and enough people like it, you build karma, and yada yada. So what happens is we see that, and that immediately feeds our it actually triggers the dopamine.
Yes,
wow, we get that shot of dopamine. This is awesome. Makes us feel good, and it just makes us want to go back and post again and post again. So, and it's really about gaining favor, getting likes and things like that. And that's completely the opposite of what Christianity ought to be.
Mm-hmm.
And Christianity is not about me.
Mm-mm.
Christianity is about everybody else around me, really.
Yes.
It's not about me. But on social media, and that's why it's hard to be a Christian on social media, I think, because everything is, I mean, these things are geared to promote you.
Mm-hmm.
And then, then you're trying to mesh this Christian worldview where, you're supposed to think much, much less of yourself and more about other people. I don't know. And it's hard. It's hard for people to do it. I think some people do it very successfully.
Yes.
But I think we're not ready for that. We can't do that. It's hard. And it shows.
It's new.
Mm-hmm.
We fell into that trap with YouTube. How many subscribers we have, how many views we have, and so forth. Instead of trying to actually serve, we just recently decided to break off from what we were doing and stop paying attention to this will get more views, this will get this, that, and the other, and just put out useful, teachable content that will actually help people. And maybe they can use to teach other people. So we're trying to revamp completely because we went down that same rabbit hole of wanting that approval.
Yeah. And even so we live stream our services mainly because of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I go back and I edit out just the singing and stuff, because you usually get copyright stuff on there. So I edit out all the songs and whatever. I just get the sermon. If people just want the lesson, for the most part. Right. And don't you know that I'm sitting there going, how many views did we get there?
Yeah.
How many views? Let me compare it to last month.
Right.
cared exactly 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I find myself doing that. I'm like, who does it really matter? Like, and I'm not doing it like I want to be popular. I'm just naturally curious.
No, but
but I think it is like,
it's kind of like watching church attendance numbers.
like I can't,
Well, we had 120 this week and only 100 last. It's the same concept.
Yeah, but if you're not careful, you can go down that rabbit hole where that's all that matters, man, is how
Right.
many views you got. How long were they engaged in the video? And you get to read all the YouTube analytics, right? And that pops up. And
let me show you. Go ahead. Where is it? YouTube Studio. So every video, how many subscribers, how long they're on there, and who commented, and same thing. And it's all about attention. Like I can't remember the name of it. It's not Christian friendly, but it is a very good. It's not trash, but it's just not everybody watches what they say. On Netflix, there is a social media documentary.
Oh, it's called The Social Dilemma.
Yes, very eye-opening.
Yeah,
and they are their commodity is our time and our attention. And they are masters at getting you to stay right there locked in.
Yeah. If anybody's out there, if you're listening, if you've seen Social Dilemma, or if you're curious about it, you want to watch it, it is. Me and Megan both picked this up when we were watching it. It's a little one-sided. They have an agenda.
Yes.
And I heard someone say that it was almost like it was the liberals' apology for the 2016 election. There's a lot against. If you listen to it, and you might go back and watch it again. So you watched the whole thing.
I did.
They're not very fond of capitalism.
Yo, I see. I didn't read into all that. I'm kind of dumb when I'm watching something the first time.
They say a lot of very good things in that. In that, I think they say a lot of very true things. But it is a little. It is. If now that I've said it, you're going to see it all throughout the thing.
I'm going to watch it again now.
But there are some good things in there. Yeah, and but it is an eye opener. Yes. It is an eye opener.
Well, at least you learn the business behind all of this. And look, let's come back to it's like you said. Maybe we get to a point where we say, well, we just got to get off social media. Well, I get that. And then the other side of it, I'm sure you would agree, is we wouldn't say because we have trouble with money that we would get rid of all money. We just say money has to be a tool. Yes. If money's about how much I can collect and how much of I can keep from you and how nice of stuff I can buy with it, then that's not a tool. It's a selfish motive.
Right.
If this is a tool, then it's used properly.
Right. Yeah. So I could take I can take my baseball bat and go hit a home run with it.
Right.
Or I can go bust some guys' windows out with it. Right. It's a tool. Right. It's up to the user. Right. And so, you're totally right. Social media is a tool, and it depends on how we use it. We can use it awfully and not learn how to use it, and use it to harm people, which New Testament Christians have done.
Yes. Or
we can take it and learn about it and really be very wise as serpents and harmless as doves, and use it to the Lord's church advantage, which I think like a podcast like this is good. The Authentic Christian is very good. GBN does a good job. And there's some other ones out there.
We brought this up last time because Chris Casebolt was on here last time, and he knows these people. Check out Appian Media sometime.
Appian,
okay. Like Appian Way.
Yeah.
They looked these guys with a videographer background, to put it very generally, were looking for content to use to teach with, and they just couldn't find. It was either sloppily done or it was not doctrinal. It wasn't true. It didn't come straight from the Bible the way it needed to be, and honor the truth. And so that was their whole mission, and they've done some really good work, very high quality work as well. Anyway, a little plug for Appian. I have no affiliation to them whatsoever, but we've looked at their stuff. They were using it as a tool. How can we make something that somebody can use? They were looking for video material to use in their Bible classes, because a lot of young people are learning through video. Couldn't find anything, so they said, well, let's make it then. And so that's using it as a tool. And these others that you mentioned as well, Radically Christian with Wes McAdams, he has podcasts and so forth, and they're very good.
And I think the more, so I used to be like, a lot of preachers, I guess it's a thing where you have to write a book if you're a preacher. I don't know.
I'm not.
I know that's the thing.
I'm not real then.
Okay, so I
preacher.
I thought, man, I ain't gonna never write no book, man. I ain't gonna write. Bud wants to write a book.
Yeah.
And Daniel Cohen, a guy who I went to school with.
I know Daniel.
Yeah. He wrote a book on Hebrews. And I've always thought, man, why we need more books?
I know.
There's like so many books out there. But then
Remind me of the story. Go ahead.
I don't know where I read it. It was in something about writing. And the person in the front of their book, they wrote something. It was something to the effect of basically, we need to put as many books out there in the world as possible so they can be available. We want to flood
the market
with good, solid, sound Christian literature. Who cares if it's the 200th book on baptism,
right?
Or the 200th book on
instrumental
music or proper worship or whatever?
Right.
No, get it out there.
Yep.
Get it out there, and that, to me, that made a lot of sense.
Never thought of it that way.
That made a lot of sense. Get it out there, because don't you know that everyone who is against the church, they're writing their books as well, and they're pushing it, and they're pushing it, and they're pushing it. So as far as like a podcast like this, do we need another podcast? Great day. Yeah. I mean, if we need to get as much as this out there into that library as we do in the hands-on libraries.
Exactly.
Get this stuff out there.
Right.
So that there's going to be more, because atheists and they are pumping their stuff out.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's how
they're pumping it out, man. And if the church don't step up and start doing it as well, then it's got to be out there for someone to come across and say, hey, you know what? I never thought about it.
And you never know what works for who. There are going to be people that watch ours that go, it didn't work, but they pick up on something else that works for them, and vice versa and so forth. And so it gives that many more options. It reminded me of a story to backtrack and go backward a little bit. My dad was, and you know how it is when you first start out in school and you're going to be a preacher, you need to build your library. And I used to have a massive library, and I've pared it way down for a variety of reasons. But Dad was this was in 1980. My grandma and granddad were not Christians, really. I mean, it was kind of like their patriotism, Christianity, same ballpark. They didn't take it seriously. And so Dad's going to be a preacher, and he's converted to Christ, and he's building his library. My granddad fought at D-Day in World War II in the Navy. Never said much of anything, but when he did, it meant something. And so Dad's talking about, I got to buy this. It's going to cost this much. I need this book. I need this group of commentaries. And my granddad just looks at him and goes, I thought you guys just needed one book. He's kind of like, all right.
Talking about the Bible.
Right. The Bible, exactly. Anyway, that's just, it reminded me there. But yeah, that's an interesting way to think about it. I'd never thought about it.
Yeah, I had never either.
Flood. I was just thinking.
Until I read a book.
Yeah. how many more do we need? But this thing as well. There are plenty of great Facebook pages. There are some some great Instagram accounts. Some of these, like I've heard people saying, we need to redeem TikTok for Jesus. And I'm like, nah.
TikTok can burn.
TikTok's pretty bad. I mean, I'm not saying that anybody that watches it, you can filter through your content, but it's very difficult to do so. And some of it's just a flat waste of time. I, as well, my kids will know. They'll be like, Dad, we've seen you scroll. Yeah, I've done it too. Still fight it at times.
Yeah, there was a poll out not too long ago, I think, where kids young people were asked to list the most negative social media apps, and you had I think it was Instagram and Snapchat and I think TikTok. They were the worst. And this is from that crowd who uses it the most. They're the worst. YouTube actually was the top. Yeah, was the top. And I watch YouTube all the time. You know how many things I've fixed in my house because
I was never a car mechanic until YouTube. Yeah, and Mark Sturgill. Yeah, jeez, I know. What other thoughts did you have? I've got some over here, but I was kind of waiting for you to cover some ground that you had thought of.
I mean, you could go into how the mental health of it.
Yeah.
Where the self-esteem problems that that young people have because they're getting judged by the world, basically. They don't, I think, and it's not their fault, but young people don't have the maturity level and the mental capacity to deal with the world at a young age.
Well, they haven't
They're not
developed an
supposed to.
identity. They haven't even developed an
Yeah.
identity yet. They're
So
still trying to figure out who they are.
Yeah, so you get the like on that social dilemma thing
Right.
where the girl's like, she does her little lips and looking all cute, and then she posts it,
Right.
boom, and then someone calls it, and someone says, "Hey, you got it. Why are your ears so big?"
Right.
And that just devastates her.
Yeah.
And
that's sad.
and she's thinking like, well, what they're not. You're not mentally developed enough to handle the world,
Exactly.
and so why do you put the world at their fingertips?
Yeah, and let
It
them
makes
be
no
your
sense,
mirror.
man. Yeah. And depression. There was something about suicide. I don't know if you watched that lesson that I did on social media, but I think 2009 is when social media apps became available on mobile phone. I might be wrong about that. But around 2009
Sounds
is
about
when
right.
the mobile phone craze, social media on the phone itself,
Right.
started blowing up. Suicide rates in young people, especially girls, like skyrocketed. And the evidence, it points to at least social media having some kind of influence on those numbers. Not saying that it's the complete cause for it, but you
Mhm.
can't ignore that stuff. You
Mhm.
can't ignore that. Um,
Well, it's like the guy on that social dilemma that was talking about. He was one of the guys that invented, or one of the group that invented the like button on
Yeah,
Facebook,
yeah.
and then realized I didn't mean to create
Started out
this.
innocent,
Yes.
and I think a lot of our, we don't go on there. I think a lot of Christians don't go on social media. They never said, "I'm going to make this account, and so I can just bash
Trash.
I can just
Right.
trash the mess out of people
Right.
when they challenge me."
Yeah.
But they set out innocent, but that's exactly what starts to happen.
Mhm.
And they never thought they would do that kind of thing. And then there's the addictive part of it. It is like
Sure.
we're talking about the dopamine hits that the likes can get and all that.
Right.
That's a real thing. Studies have been done on that. It is addictive.
Mhm. Well, you're talking to the guy who is a night owl by nature. Now, I've gotten away from it, but I'm a night owl by nature because I'm the guy that would sit up and watch more and more. I mean, you're talking about a kid that grew up, started with the 3 channels. I remember when cable came in, and I remember when HBO and Showtime were the only 2 extra channels you could buy. And when you had movies that you actually had to get in your car, go down to, well, when I was that young, I had to get somebody to take me down and rent the movie. So I got all the movies on. I ain't missing nothing. I'll be up till 4 a.m. I did it with video games for a little while too.
Oh, yeah,
Can't believe
yeah.
How much time I wasted with video games.
No, you didn't waste time at all. No.
Oh, I know. I was building my skill.
Yeah, man, you working your thumbs.
Yeah, I don't think maybe a better jeweler, but yeah. So I have that. I don't even know what you call addictive personality that I have to fight back, and that's the I've seen, and I ask my kids at times, or ask kids that are riding with us in the car or even at camp, like, what are you looking for? Because they're just doing this, and they're just looking for the next thing to entertain them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and those companies, they know what they're doing. It's like
Right.
they gear their ads and their whole, however they set it up.
The algorithms, yeah.
It's geared to make it's to be addictive.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a slot machine.
Mm-hmm.
Ching, ka-ching, ka-ching,
Mhm.
and you just can't. You get maybe the next one. Maybe the next one will be the hit. Maybe the next one. Boom, and you just keep pulling that slot,
Mhm.
man.
And then them little red dots with a ding on them on your iPhone, and you got a notification. What's that? What's that?
Oh, now you brought that up.
Go
Let's
ahead.
see. Let's see. Where was that?
Take your time.
Oh, here we go about the addiction part. 2012 says 89. There's a certain poll, and I got, you can look. I got
References.
references.
Okay.
89% of undergraduate students experience phantom vibrations.
I've
You
had
ever heard
that before.
You're like, oh, wait a minute.
Where you feel like your leg.
Yeah. Yeah. So my phone's in my pocket right now. Like, did that just vibrate? Oh, let me check. Oh, did I just hear that across the room? I think my phone vibrated. Hang on, I'll be right back.
Right.
So 89% experience these phantom vibrations, and that's the addictive part of it, where like you did it, because if it did vibrate, that means I might
Check
have
it.
something. I gotta check it. I don't want to miss it,
Right.
dude. That's not good.
I thought that was my side.
That's not
good. That wasn't my back. It was phantom vibrations. Anyway, but no, it's
That's not
good
good, man.
because you are trained like a dog, to
Oh yeah,
react to it.
Pavlov's dog. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and on the you read about people giving up social media for a month or whatever.
Right.
They people literally have to detox. Like they actually really because the people who say they've given it up will say, yeah, the first week was hard.
Mhm.
It was rough.
Mhm.
It is like a drug, man. And you really have to detox from it. So don't, no one could ever say, I would hope no one would ever disagree that it's addictive. 'Cause
And
it most certainly
yeah,
is.
it carries dangers
And
with
so
it.
with any thing that is like that, we just have to use caution. I think that maybe if anybody's watching this, totally fine to disagree with me. I am a little more on the side where like you need to get rid of it.
Right.
I've told people that,
Right.
man, you need to get off of it. Just
Right.
forget it. You're gonna be better than.
Cut it out.
And yeah, but I'm not so stupid to be like, well, no, I'm not trying to take everybody back to the Stone Age.
I understand.
I mean, there is a level where we need to not we have to adapt to our surroundings, kind of thing.
Sure.
And it's no compromise on truth, none of that. It's just that we would be silly not to use what God has put in our laps, basically, to evangelize the world, which I think the internet is one of those things.
Mm-hmm.
And could we possibly be given an account when we don't use this amazing thing where we can reach people halfway across the world?
Yeah.
Possibly. And we surely will give account when we abuse it.
But the commodity that we all have, and all have the same amount of, is time. How much time is used up on that? And I think about that a lot. How much of my time that I don't even think about it. And I hear people say, "Oh, I got on TikTok and watched one." I think, what are they, 30-second videos on TikTok? And they say I've started with a 30-second video, and like 3 hours later, and I've done that on Facebook at times because they got to watch part of the app, and you just, there's another one, and there's another one, and they're putting the stuff in front of you that you want to see. And so you're wasting your time, which is your resource that you have to use for something productive.
Yeah. And then we say, man, I'm just so busy out there all day. I mean, I don't even know how I'm going to study my Bible.
Yeah. Well, that's where I was going. I have seen in these arguments that people are making a lot of what we used to call, or still call, trading ignorance. And I always joke in class about that. Like if we're going to study, let's say it's a Wednesday night class, if we're going to study a topic, we have some of these classes set up where we agree next week we're going to talk about this. Well, don't show up. And I always threaten them, if you show up and don't study for it, we're just going to read 1 Chronicles 1-9. beget. And so, but that's the thing, is don't show up and let's trade ignorance here. I think this and I think that.
Yeah.
What does the word actually say about it?
Yeah.
What else did you have? Because I have this. I'm borrowing. I'm just straight borrowing from, like I said, Wes McAdams on this. I'm gonna quit hitting the table in a minute.
Here's another stat that I looked up. 40% of users aged 9 through 18, and I know I'm not. A lot of the stats that I've given is like young people, and I'm not
trash
really
young people.
Not, but they're the biggest consumer of it, and so but adults should be just held as liable as young people in their use of it. But 40% of users age 9, that's 9 years from me using social media, through 18 think their online activity is private, including from their parents. 55% of teens have given out personal information to someone they don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, so there are literally people out there just waiting to kidnap your child. Yeah. And don't matter how old they are. Mm-hmm. I just seen something the other day where lady was just walking down I think it was in Texas somewhere. She's just walking her kid in the neighborhood. Someone pulls up, stops, snatches right out of her hand. She couldn't do a thing about it. Big dude. And just drove off.
Wow.
They ended up catching her, but I mean, so there are people out there, and don't you know, when the internet came on, and these kind of people were just salivating.
Yes, cheering.
Let's get into this area. Mm-hmm. When Minecraft started getting big, mm-hmm. there was a lot of people, adults, getting in because who plays the video games? Mostly kids, especially Minecraft, a game like that. Well, they get into these servers that all these kids are on, and yeah, I mean that's a problem.
Yeah, get their IP address and find out and locate and all that.
Yeah, where you at? Blah blah blah. Kids don't like
Don't
they're
care
not
about it.
prepared for that kind of thing. Yeah, so online gaming is another social media area because you think shame on parents who allow their kids to have Xbox Live and just lock them up in the room and think, oh, they're only going to play Xbox games.
Right. No.
No, there's awful content on the chat part of that. I don't know everything about Xbox Live, but I know enough where kids can see things that they do not need to be seeing
Mm-hmm.
on Xbox Live. And it ain't just about games, man.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly right. That's a whole nother part of the deal, part of the spectrum.
And I love video games.
Oh yeah, I do too.
I love it. I play Minecraft.
Yeah.
And I love it.
Minecraft was a good, like I never thought of this, but Minecraft was a good game. Like where all these other games are about tearing things down and blowing things up. Minecraft's building stuff. I had my youngest who's on the spectrum loved Minecraft, man, and built stuff for days on it.
Yeah.
But,
so it's just it all, and you know the whole solution is we need more God.
mm-hmm.
That's all it is.
Yeah, there you go.
Whatever we could be talking about anything, any world problem right now, or even American problem, any social American, any culture problem. We need more God.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
We need more Christian families who are just going to just take it serious, take their Christianity serious, take raising up their kids serious,
Yep.
and put their foot down when their foot needs to be. Who cares if they don't have a phone like all the other kids do?
I know.
Who cares? Is it really gonna be devastating when they aren't able to hop on or they haven't seen the latest TikTok video and everyone's talking about?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's got to start, and of course, this is like anything. It's got to start in the home, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's got to start in the home, man, and we're just not. I'm not sure if we're.
Well,
doing
the parents are
enough
so engaged in it too. I mean, to some degree. I mean, the parents are involved in it. So
Yeah.
if I've got it, then they can have it as well, and that sort of thing. And
Yeah.
and it's not like, again, it's not like we're saying anybody who lets their kid have this, that, or the other are automatically doing wrong. No, there are ways to watch, but then there are so many dangers. That's what the whole point of this thing is, to highlight those dangers
Yeah.
and the repercussions that come with it. It's not just this nice little friendly, oh, I'm keeping up with so and so here and there. No, there's all kinds of these different aspects we're talking about where it can negatively impact you.
Me and Megan tried so hard to keep our kids from viewing something that they shouldn't do, and they had tablets.
Yeah.
Weren't really not social media stuff, but they had tablets. So even through the games that were downloaded,
Mhm.
Some bad stuff started coming across in the ads.
Yeah.
It's simply because they were connected to the internet.
Right.
We tried, and we were devastated. We tried everything
Mm-hmm.
to prevent that kind of thing from happening.
Everything short of not letting them have anything electronic. That's about how you have to do. And then you have to, well, your kids are homeschooled, right? So you have to worry
Mhm.
about them going out into that environment and seeing what
Yeah.
everybody else is looking at, which is an advantage. For all the people that say there are disadvantages with homeschool, one of the advantages is you don't have to worry about as much as those influences.
Yeah, there's disadvantages and advantages to
Sure.
to either side. Yeah.
Sure.
But yeah, so as long as Christian parents understand that the social media apps and whatnot are not pacifiers to shut your kids up, and so you can have a little peace of mind. They're not pacifiers.
Matt, or not Matt, Wes had a couple of things here and a couple of scriptures to go with it. He said his article is some Bible verses to consider when using social media. And this is what's difficult. And it's not just a now thing in the current 2022 in America. I mean, this is a part of the human condition, is not really feeling connected to God's word, or like God's word, understanding that this really has all the answers. Whether it's social media, there's nothing new under the sun.
Yeah.
Whether it's money we were talking about, or the use of time, or any of that stuff, there are always answers. So I love the way he said, all right, if you're going to use social media, then here's some verses to consider. The first one would be to restrain your words, which some people have a very difficult time. I've got an opinion.
Very.
Have you seen any of, or at least heard of, the arguments over masks? Both sides just hideously ugly, and both sides using God to destroy the other side.
Yeah.
one side, you don't care about people, and so you can't be Christ-like if you're walking around without one on. And the other side saying, well, you don't care about people because you won't let us get together, and you got to put all these restraints and so forth. And to the point that they're just degrading one another. So restraining your words, he mentions Proverbs 17, or speaking of words, Proverbs 17, 27 through 28. Whoever restrains his words has knowledge. He who has a cool spirit is a man of understanding. Even a fool who keeps silent is considered wise. When he closes his lips, he is deemed intelligent.
Yeah. Wise people really don't speak a lot.
Yeah.
But when they do,
Makes you very wise.
when they do, it's worth something. And that's the way we ought to look at things.
There's another verse I can't remember in Proverbs that talks about, I have it in the lesson about gossip and slander, that talks about someone, a fool is someone who always has to give their opinion, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So restraining words, knowing when we need to say something and when it's wise to just let it go, when it's not going to do any good, when it's not going to build up, when it's not going to accomplish anything except me being right and feeling good about telling you what for.
Mm-hmm. And that goes back to the self thing.
Yes, that's exactly where I was going with it.
Yeah, yeah. One of the things we harp on the Pharisees. Pharisees are so bad, so bad. And I think it was Matthew 23 where one of the things Jesus accused him of is this self-indulgence.
Mm-hmm.
It's really all about them. All about them. It's 23, 25.
Yeah.
That's what we're getting sucked into a lot of times with social media.
Exactly. The second one, he says not to isolate yourself. Whoever, in Proverbs 18:1, whoever isolates himself seeks his own desire. He breaks out against all sound judgment. So he says, if we're not careful, social media becomes an echo chamber where we only hear our voices or those who agree with us. And it's funny because the algorithms work toward that. Let's just use the Trump thing, since that's such a hot button issue or person. If you were for Trump and all you liked was Donald Trump and you looked at those posts, that's all you're getting fed. I think the social dilemma dealt with that. That's all you're going to get fed is people basically who agree with you.
Yeah, yeah. If it's just like an ad. Like if I look up wooden tables, how to build wooden tables, I'm gonna get some ads about that kind of area of.
Now,
right?
if you talk about it, you'll get some ads.
Yeah, that's weird.
Have you seen it happen?
Yeah, just the other day
Yeah.
we were talking to Asher pointed it out. We were talking about something, and on our we have one of those smart TVs.
Yes.
On our TV. We see this ad for whatever. Wish I could remember what it was.
Yeah.
We've never seen an ad for that before because we just got the TV.
Right.
So I mean, we know what's
Right.
been on there.
Right. They're in your house.
Yeah.
Hey, how did it? I know you're off camera here, but how was it? How is it they're going to start using billboards? Like when you pass by, the ads are going to be specific to you. How are they going to gather that information? Through your phone, I guess. Yes, GPS in your phone. So your billboard, what you see on a billboard driving down the road, will eventually be catered just to you. It'll change for
Crazy.
So-
What can you do about that? I mean, I guess folks
off
that
the
can.
grid. Go up to Alaska with those people who are up there living off the grid. I don't know. I really don't. I mean, that's part of the dilemma too, is how do you, as a Christian, meander through this? How much is too dangerous? Do you go along with it? Do you go hide in the sand, or go dig a hole and hide, bury your head in the sand?
Well, yeah. Well, we can't do that, can we?
No, because we can't reach anybody.
Yeah. So, and this also goes back to just being very wise about how we go about things and having as much knowledge as we can about a thing to make sure that we're using it properly,
Right.
and not going against God's will and doing it and hurting and harming other people, especially the church.
Yeah, that's, and part of the thing too is, or part of this whole deal too is, what are we at? We're not even a couple of decades into this. We're not even 20 years into this. We're 10 to 15 years. This is still brand new.
Yeah. Can you imagine what's going to be like in 20 years, 30 years?
Sure. But hopefully with that will come our experience with it. And
hopefully. Yeah.
At first it was a fun, shiny new toy. And then we made some realizations. Hey, wait a second, pump the brakes on this a little bit.
Yeah.
So hopefully, it will be more wise with in how we deal with it, and it won't just be this new thing that we've never seen before, and we love it. And we just threw ourselves into it, and maybe we'll be wiser and make better decisions about it.
We'll pray for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Seriously, yeah.
Could get worse. I try to stay. I'm negative by nature. I try to stay hopeful instead of it could all go.
I just
downhill,
I think I'm the same way. I just told my congregation. So I did this sermon about what the congregation does right, and I just wanted to be very positive because sometimes it can be people feel like we're always preaching on we're not good enough kind of thing.
Yeah,
and I think preachers can do that, can not do that, and still be very effective, right?
Yes.
But I just wanted to tell the congregation how much I love them. So I did a sermon on what the congregation does right. And I admitted that, yeah, I'm on the more pessimistic side of things. And you know what? Actually, probably it's only been that way since I started preaching.
They ruined him too.
But I'm not so foolish to think that there's no hope.
No.
That the future of the church is not bright, and that the church is able to handle anything that's thrown at them.
Right.
The church can handle it. It doesn't matter what it is. If it's something even more tempting and more addictive and more potentially abusive than social media, whatever that could possibly be.
Look, if there was a church in Corinth back in the day,
the church can handle it.
Yeah, exactly.
We just got to be more aware of our surroundings and have more, try to have more foresight about things and just be wise.
And dive more into this.
Yes, you've got to,
If I know this, I'll know how to react. Exactly. Yeah. He said, take pleasure in understanding. This is missing a lot in online interactions or social media interactions is let me see where you're coming from instead of immediately reacting. I've been that person and still fight when you're talking to somebody who's not listening, but they're just thinking about the response. And a lot of times it's that on social media, I'm not really paying attention to where you're coming from, or I'm not even going to acknowledge it. I'm just going to come back at you.
Yeah, I've already got the answer ready.
Exactly. He said,
already got the bullet ready to fire.
There you go. Proverbs 18:2, a fool takes no pleasure in understanding, but only in expressing his opinion. That's exactly the one I was thinking of earlier, just expressing what he thinks.
Yeah.
People say, well, I just have to get my opinion out there.
Yeah.
Thanks for telling me. I'll know to duck every time you talk.
Yeah. I've tried to do it when I was in school. You're learning all this stuff and boom, 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 and you feel like you can take on the world. And yeah, I've engaged in comment sections on YouTube before with people, and I learned my lesson that you don't get nowhere.
Right.
You've won the argument in your head. That's it. And you really haven't gotten anywhere. I guess supposedly, well, maybe you can kind of learn where people are coming from, kind of learn the other side. But really, I think there's better ways to go about it. If someone if you posted something, I'm like, man, what is Zach doing? That ain't right.
Idiot.
Man, let me do this. Ow. You know what I ought to do? I ought to just call you.
Yeah.
Why do I want to text you? Why do I want to even private message you?
Right.
That's just not the way to go about it. That's not brethren acting. That's not Christians acting like Christians.
You got to use the correct slang though about private message. Get up in my DMs.
Whoa, hey, I didn't know this kind of program.
No, it's but yeah, of course. Why not have, and that's what we're missing. And see, that's the thing that I was thinking about earlier is part of this, or some of this has fed into this, especially with COVID, and the church was doing a good thing by offering live streaming as an alternate, because you're too afraid to get out and so forth. But a lot of people don't realize that there is no substitute for genuine fellowship, that partnership, and this connectivity right here, listening, talking, being around each other, experiencing each other. This will never replace that. Watching it on and trying to be a participant will never replace that. It has its place at times for certain crazy times like the pandemic.
Yeah, so we've had to miss. So after the initial missing where we couldn't go, we're at me and Bud and a couple of the others. We were actually still going up there to. It was just the four of us
Right.
doing services, and everybody else was staying home. But there was a couple times when our family got COVID, and so we had to stay home. And yeah, it was. No, I didn't like it one bit.
Mm-mm.
Thankful that we were able to watch and engage as much as we could. But no, I didn't like it. I didn't like it because you're right. It is not the same as being together and having the physical contact with people and the fellowship and being there actually with people.
Right.
And everyone I had told that to, they totally agree.
Yeah.
I have not one person that said, well, I kind of really enjoy it. It's just as good at home. I haven't heard one person say that.
Yeah, that's good. I remember going to Red Lobster one night with Laura. It's been 7-8 years ago, when phones were still fairly new, I guess, compared to now. But they had a lobby, 2 big long benches, and the lobby was full of people, and most of them couples. It's on a Friday night going out for dinner, whatever. It was her and I and an elderly couple were the only 2 that were talking to each other. Every other, because we looked and checked, every other couple was like this. So it ruins those interactions. We're trying to figure out right now what to do about it at camp.
Oh,
It used to
kids
be.
that bring their phones up.
Yes. Yeah. It used to be back in the day when I was a camper that when you went to camp, you had no CD or cassette player.
Oh, yeah.
No media whatsoever.
Yeah.
Now we're trying to balance that out. Kids are using just like I'm doing right now, using their phones or their tablets for apps.
Oh, yeah. Like for the Bible.
For the
Well, if I
Bible.
don't bring my phone, I'm not going to have a Bible.
Exactly. And so we're trying to, so we've come up with, we've gone back and forth. We've said, you can keep it. We're asking you to be responsible. You are teenagers now. We're asking you to be responsible. What's funny is we did that, and you know who we had a worse time with?
Adults.
The staff. We have this video or this photo montage at the end of the week. And so we had said no phones, be responsible with your phones. And the person that was doing the video posted nothing but staff pictures of us like this on our phones. And, as Chris and I were talking about, because Chris runs the business that his dad used to run. And he was like, well, I gotta have it on me. And I understand where he's coming from, but his dad ran the same business in the 90s, had no cell phone, and went up and stayed a week and still ran a business.
Mm-hmm.
So we're trying to navigate that and say, okay, you don't need them during break time. That's when you hang out with each other. So put them away. We don't want to see them. Mm-hmm. If you're in class, cool. If you're in chapel, cool. At night, you don't need them. Oh, I need my alarm clock. No. We'll provide you. We talked about buying a bunch of cheap alarm clocks and be like, here, there you go.
Man, get a rooster out there.
Yeah. Kids would be mad. Well, not so much.
That thing might end up being, you find it dead in the morning.
These kids are different, man. When we were teenagers, like the guys, we slept until, if breakfast is at 8:00, we slept till 7:55 and came out.
Yeah.
These guys are up at 5:30 drinking coffee out there with the old people.
Yeah, you're right. That wasn't us either.
No, we got as much out of it as we could. So
I remember getting in trouble a lot actually for coming down late from the cabin.
Me too. Or being still asleep and the director had to send somebody back and throw water on you or whatever. I was that guy. So yeah, we're trying to figure out how to do that. Part of me wants to say no phones for a whole week. Some college professors are doing this as an experiment at campus. And what they're finding out is young people are, of course, having those withdrawals that are very real that you were talking about. But then at the same time, having some realization at the end, they saw the world like they hadn't seen it maybe ever and said, we're missing out on things, just scenery. We're missing out on things that happen all around us.
Life.
Yeah, life.
Exactly. You think you have to be connected and plugged in like the Matrix or something.
Yeah, that's
or
exactly
you're
right.
or you're just gonna be, you're gonna get left behind and you're not gonna know everything and there's a lot going on outside of that fake virtual world this we call the internet, social media.
Yeah.
A lot.
Speaking of the fake world, isn't it the new thing, the metaverse? You heard about this?
Yes. Have you seen the virtual baptisms?
No.
Yeah, or virtual church. Have you seen anything like that?
No.
It's very strange.
I bet it is.
Yeah,
What's a
yeah.
virtual church like?
Well, it's
You
just a bunch
send
of little avatars. Have you seen virtual church? You should look it up. I mean, it's like it's like going to worship,
Yeah.
but you're in your avatar, whatever that is,
Yeah.
whatever you want that to be. I don't know. I don't know how the VR
It's your
works.
little own person. Yeah.
Yeah, and like there's a little stage, and the guy gets up on the stage, and they have people monitoring to kick people out who are causing trouble, and people are sitting down in their pews. It's wild, man. And the baptism,
Yeah.
and they virtually baptize people.
So you're just sitting at the house with this headset on, but going through all this world and doing all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's wild. And have you ever done VR? I've never done VR. I think Bob and Buster's. What's that? Dave and Buster's.
Yeah.
So we went there. I think it was a long time ago, and I think that's the first time I did like the VR. They might have had VR stuff there, but it was real wonky. It was really like cheesy.
Yeah, that's the one I tried like
now.
years back.
Now apparently it's pretty cool. I mean, I've seen videos. The kids watch some videos about people doing like Star Wars VR and stuff like that. I'm not that they want a VR. I'm like, nope.
I can see that energy coming. Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, that's weird. Yeah. So yeah, I've heard of the metaverse,
Mm-hmm.
the religious side. I can't imagine what else is going on in that world.
Oh, yeah. That's where I probably. It's yeah. I want to stay ignorant on some of it. I think of I didn't even time us. What have we been going an hour now? More. Gotcha. Okay. I was thinking of the movie Wall-E, the little Disney movie.
Yeah, I've seen it. I
And
like
everybody's
that.
real big and fat because they don't do anything but sit there.
Yeah.
That's gonna be us, just all with headsets on, not doing
Crazy,
anything,
man. Yeah.
but doing a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
weird.
you wonder how far that's gonna
I don't know.
go.
And what's funny is I think we forget, but all that stuff can be taken away. Like if somebody hacks in and tears down the system, it's just back to us. Yeah.
Maybe
I don't know
what needs to happen.
He gave a few more here. I'll go through real quick. He said, don't be slack in your work, which is what we were talking about. A terrible use of time. Proverbs 18:9, whoever slack in his work is a brother to him who destroys. Don't invite a beating. I like that. A fool's lips walk into a fight, and his mouth invites a beating. A fool's mouth is his ruin. His lips are a snare to his soul. Proverbs 18. So don't be the kind of person who invites a virtual verbal beating.
Yeah. Like, hey, punch me in the mouth.
Yeah. Or who just likes to start up stuff. I had to unfollow somebody recently. Every post was biblical and spiritually minded, and they were all those topics that are going to immediately evoke a reaction. And 400 and some comments of people just blasting each other for the most part.
Yeah.
And that's what they wanted the whole time. And the only reason you know that is because that's what happens every time they post.
Mm-hmm.
So that's inviting a beating as well. Don't answer before you hear, of course. And then remember the fruits of the Spirit in Galatians 5. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control.
Which, for the most part, social media does not promote.
No, it really doesn't. It doesn't. And so we've acknowledged that this can be dangerous. To me, it reminds me a lot of money. Money is very useful, and yet there's all these biblical warnings about money, the love of it, and how it can be. It's not wrong to have it. It was wrong to be rich.
Right, yeah.
We'd all, most of us in America, be in hell.
Well, Abraham was pretty rich.
Yeah,
pretty rich fella.
Absolutely. And it's not wrong to have social media, but it can quickly get out of hand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think, like I was saying before, we just need to maybe take it more serious as the Lord's church, and but especially in our homes.
Right.
In our homes, man, we got to take our homes way more serious. And
I agree. I needed to do better work there.
I think we all have it. We all have regrets, man. I do. I got them too. But if we can instill, I don't care how old they are. It might be hard, you got a teenager already, and you haven't really been the Christian parent you should have been, yeah, that's gonna be tough, man. It's gonna be tough to get through to them. But if we can get that generation to raise their children up, church is gonna be all right. Raise them up properly in the Lord.
Absolutely. There's going to be a time, I fear, this is the pessimistic side of me. I fear there's going to be a time where we're going to need to get off of social media because we will not want to draw attention to ourselves as Christians because of what that might,
Oh
I
yeah.
hate to use persecution in such a broad sense.
Yeah.
But it's like back in the day, and well, even now in certain places, they don't stick up a church building with a steeple on it because that's not the wisdom of serpents and harmless as doves. That's saying, come attack us.
Yeah.
And so there's some wisdom in being discreet. It may go to that route too, where we're not out there just plugging and drawing attention to ourselves because who knows what that'll invite.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing we got to be raising the next generation of is be prepared. Got to be mentally prepared for that kind of thing. And,
Yes.
And handle it. And stick them in front of a screen all day and go.
And it's going to come too. It's going that direction where Christianity is growing less and less popular.
Yeah.
And there are going to be more walls. There's going to be more rejection, and there's going to be, to some degree, more danger. And like you just said, we need to prepare them for that. I tell my kids all the time, I said, it may come to that in our country. It may come to where people are aggressive against Christianity. I said, the beautiful thing is you can stay and fight, or you have the chance to travel like never before, and you can leave and go somewhere else and start over again. It's what people used to do from other countries that escaped. I have a great aunt that escaped from Nazi Germany through Czechoslovakia. I know people who have left other countries to go to a totally different place, knew nobody, had nothing. People that came here in the early 20th century with nothing on them, and escaped these crazy places in order to have opportunities that our country provided. So,
yeah, I don't think this is going to happen in any time soon. But a friend of mine told me this, and it's always stuck with me that, how strong is the church over in like Turkey right now? Yeah, not so much.
Yeah.
Well, it used to be. I mean, that was like, that was like one of the epicenters of Christianity.
Hotspot, yeah.
Could it be that America is going to end up being like the Middle East? I'm not really talking about Islam, but just the fact that Christianity is just going to be dwindling and dwindling and dwindling. Well, that could possibly happen.
Sure. We're becoming a more godless
and maybe
society.
There's going to be another America where the church can flourish. Could be in South America, could be in Africa. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, what's funny is
it's not going to go. The church is not going to dissolve and disappear.
No.
Maybe, perhaps, in however many decades or centuries, it's going to be just somewhere else in the world if Christ does not come back.
Right. Yeah. Well, we're kind of evolving into a different conversation, but one of the problems I firmly believe America has is we don't have real problems. So we create our own problems. If we were destitute without certain things, when Jesus is talking about worry, he's talking about food and clothing. We don't worry about that stuff because we're rich people. So we don't have, in a sense, those type of real problems. If we were, what I mean by that is when you look over persecution, against the church, when you read Acts and you see the Jewish persecution, which a lot of brethren don't pay much attention to. They skip right on over into Roman persecution. The Jews were very hard on Christians to begin with, and the church exploded. And when you look at like Southern India, where I know a missionary over there, they have a government that has outlawed baptism, a government that is trying to stop children's homes, a government that is making it very difficult to get money from the U.S. in there, and the church is exploding. In this one area, in this one mission, last year's goal was 15,000 something conversions in 1 year. They topped that, and they have like an 87% retention, meaning they're not just dunking people and getting them wet.
Right, yeah.
They're actually turning them into disciples.
Yeah.
So over there in this Hindu-laden country that you wouldn't think Christianity, it's exploding. And over here, it's just dwindling. So
I don't know. Maybe that's exactly what the church needs is some persecution.
To hurt.
I don't even like saying that.
Yeah.
But if it's going to cause the church to grow and be strong.
Yeah. Well, if they take it away from us,
let's go.
if they take it away from us and say, you can't meet, you can't preach about this, you can't talk about this, you can't say this is wrong.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you do, you're going to go to jail.
Mm-hmm.
They'll change our mentality.
Oh yeah, well, I think we're a long way away from that, but
Yes, we
but
are.
I think, I mean, it's just a matter of time. I think you're right about that. It's just a matter of time. It's gonna happen.
I know. And then you think though, how quickly with this social media stuff, you think, maybe you just edit some of this back in. We're kind of just rambling at this point, but you think about how fast things have changed in the last 30 years, 20 years. I don't know. Maybe it will be a while. Maybe 50 years it'll be. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's
I
hard
don't
to
sit and worry about
speculate.
that stuff. I
Yeah,
just
and we shouldn't. We
pay
just
attention.
we just prepare
Right.
as much as we can, know the book as much as we can,
Right.
walk the walk, man.
Any last words on advice about social media?
No, I think I don't not that I'm the expert on advice, but
No.
yeah, I think it's Matthew 10:16. Be wise as serpents and harmless as doves, and take raising your family. The Christian home is far more important. We can't stress it enough. You can't. We don't have words to how important the Christian home is.
Mm-hmm.
Take care of the home, the church will flourish, the nation will flourish. But it's got to start in the home. Yeah.
That's the thing too, is a lot of brethren feel like we need to change. The church needs to do this. The nation needs to do this. No, do work in your own backyard. Fix you. I'll fix me. I'll impact the people I need to impact, and read about Noah. And he may not have saved the world, but his own household,
Mm-hmm.
and it affected who his sons married,
Mm-hmm.
and they all got on that boat together. And that's where I have my biggest impact.
Yeah.
Well, thanks. We'll do this again, because I found about 3 or 4 more different topics for us to come back and discuss.
All right.
And if you enjoyed it, hopefully you'll
Yeah,
come
man.
back.
Yeah, it was a good time.
We do.
Yeah,
We release
appreciate
these
it.
about once a month, but yeah. So that's a wrap. We can just call it on that.